All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Happy International Women's Day. Thank you so much for joining us for our investment talk. And we have a special guest. Our special guest with us today is Miss Terise Kettle. And I'm going to just tell you a little bit more about her before she begins. Now, Terise Kettle joined Barita Investments Limited in March 2020 in the capacity of Vice President Investment Banking. Since joining the Barita Investments Limited team, Terise has led several capital markets transactions, with the most notable ones being the Barita Investments Limited and Derrimon Traded Company Limited's APO, and more recently, the pending Massey Holdings Limited cross-listing on the Jamaica Stock Exchange. Terise has over 14 years experience in banking, and that's retail, corporate, and investment banking, with her most recent prior to joining Barita Investments Limited being the role of Assistant Vice President, Corporate Banking at Sagicor Bank Jamaica Limited. During her tenure at Sagicor, she led syndicated transactions, including the largest syndicated transaction in Jamaica in 2017. She started her career as an external auditor at PricewaterhouseCoopers. Ms. Kettle holds an MBA distinction specializing in banking and finance from the University of the West Indies Mona School of Business and Management, and a Bachelor of Science honors in Management Studies and Accounting. She has also completed several postgraduate certification programs, including project management, portfolio management, credit risk management, and complex accounting for corporations. I now ask you to join me in welcoming Ms. Terise Kettle. Hi, Terise. Thanks for joining us.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for having me today. All right, so I'm going to be sharing my screen. Moya, you can facilitate?
Yes, sure. Are you able to share now?
Yes.
Okay, great.
All right. All right. So everybody seen my screen?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right. So happy International Women's Day, everybody. This is one of the days that we have to celebrate as women. It's very important for us to be able to do things for ourselves. And today I want us to focus on becoming financially independent as women, right? A lot of these things that you're going to hear today, they're not going to be new to you at all. You probably would have heard about some of these things before, and you probably practice some of these things. But I just want to make sure that, we're focusing on becoming financially independent, right? I know Moya wanted us to talk about wealth, but a big part of financial independence, you're going to become wealthy from doing that. So any questions at all, please feel free to ask them, throughout the presentation. As always, I want to make sure that I keep it as simple as possible, but anything at all you want to ask, please feel free to go ahead and ask. All right. So Claire Booth Luce said, and this is something that is very important, a woman's best protection is a little money of her own, right? A little money of her own. But we want to change that a little bit, because what we want to always be preaching is abundance, right? So we want to change up the narrative to say that a woman's best protection is money of her own, right? And it's very important that as women, we take charge of our own financial path. No, there is no one who would guarantee your security, financial independence, and lifestyle. All right, let me start over. There's no one who would guarantee you the security, financial independence, and lifestyle that you want except for yourself. So, really and truly, what this saying is telling us is that we are in control of our own destiny, and it's very important for us to make sure that we are financially secure, we are financially independent, and we are in control of our own lifestyles, right? Because the truth of the matter is that at the end of the day, God forbid, something can happen with your job situation. God forbid, if you're relying on somebody else, something could happen to that person, and they're not able to help out the way how they ought to, or the way how you would want them to. So therefore, it's very important for us to make sure that we take our own financial independence, security in our own hands. Now I'm going to open up the floor to anybody. Just trying to get some feedback here. What do you believe is financial independence? Anybody, anything? Feel free to share. What do you believe is financial independence? All right. So I'm not getting any takers. So financial independence is a status of having enough income to pay one's living expenses for the rest of one's life without being employed or dependent on others, right? So it means that you can cover yourself, you can cover all of your living expenses, and you can live comfortably without being employed or dependent on others. Income earned without having to work a job is commonly referred to as passive income, right? And that's one of the things that we want to get to in this conversation here today. So we want to, ultimately for a lot of us, right? At the end of the day, when we work, it's a means to an end. And we want to be able to really and truly enjoy, our own life, enjoy the life that we live. We don't want to be living paycheck to paycheck. And there are a lot of things that we need to do to ensure that we become financially independent. Now, you might be asking, how can I become financially independent? And, there are several things that we can do to become, financially independent. And a lot of it comes out of being self-disciplined, right? We need to ensure that we are always better decision makers. We're making the best decisions, not because it's the decision that is easiest at the point in time, but it's a decision that will make you a better person in the long run for you and your family. Now, we always want to be consistent, right? And like many of us, who try to exercise, we know that whenever it is that we do exercise on a regular basis, the opposite happens of what we typically want to happen. So if we want to lose weight and, we continue to eat and do everything and not exercise, we find that, we're challenged in terms of, our own goals. And the same thing applies in your everyday life, right? You have to be disciplined and you have to be consistent in terms of how it is that you approach it. Now, being self-motivated, and it is very important that you.
Yeah.
It's. Hello, you guys are hearing me?
Yes, hearing you.
Okay, it's very important that you are self-motivated, right? And that is the first step in becoming financially independent. You want to have it, you want it, you have to want it for yourself in order for you to be successful. But bigger than that, some days, just like how it is for working out, some days we don't feel like exercising, some days, we don't feel like eating the right foods that we're supposed to be eating. And the same thing applies when it is that you're looking on becoming financially independent. The thing is that you still have to be motivated, because there are going to be days where it is that you do not feel the need, you don't feel that you want to be, motivated. Things will happen in your life, unforeseen things will happen in your life, and it really derails you. But that's where the discipline comes in, and that is something that is very important, coupled with the fact that you need to be self-motivated. We also need to ensure that we're okay with delayed gratification, meaning that Some things will not happen now. You're going to do the work now, and then you will get the rewards later in life, right? A lot of us, we're exposed to social media. We're exposed to a lot of our friends and families and influencers, and various persons out there who are living their best life now. We see a lot of people, and we're not saying that you mustn't go out there and have fun, because at the end of the day, you have to enjoy your life, right? It's quality over quantity always. But if you have certain goals in mind, you have to be prepared for delayed gratification, doing the work now, putting aside, investing now, putting plans in place so that way you can enjoy the quality of life that you want for yourself. Now, I'm going to be sharing with you a few tips, and feel free to ask any questions about them. Trust me, a lot of these things you already know, but it's very important for us, especially as women, to ensure that we take our own financial independence into our own hands, right? It's very important for us to look out for ourselves always. Now, one of the things that I read, and this article came out in McKinsey, where it is that, and it was primarily geared towards the US, but I believe that this is something that we ourselves, we can benefit from. Women in general, especially the baby boomers, are going to be the ones. Typically, decisions and financial decisions in a household are made by women. We are seeing where that is changing significantly, and women are the ones who are the typically sometimes the breadwinners in the family, and they're the ones who are actually making the decisions in terms of how it is that money is spent in the household. So what it told us, the article spoke to the fact that it's very important that we as women, we take it seriously, we learn a lot, we read a lot, right? It is very important for us, in order to become financially independent, that we are intellectually inquisitive, right? We're always seeking out knowledge, trying to learn and trying to grow. So let's say, for example, you are in your own profession, and there's certain things that you don't know, because the truth of the matter is that we don't know everything, right? It is very important that you try to own your craft, right? You try as best as possible, to learn. If it is that you don't know anything about financial planning at all, it's very important for you to try to gain as much knowledge as possible. Some people say read a book a month. A lot of us, we really don't read as much as we ought to. But, technology has made it so easy for us. We can pick up and read an audio book. We can actually listen to books on YouTube. So it's very important for us to utilize all of the facilities that we have around us to make it easy for us to learn and to grow. And as I said before, it has to be deliberate, right? Try, for example, if it is that you're going to be exercising, or if it is that you're going to be doing some work around the house, put in an audiobook if you don't have the time to actually read a book. Find something that will help you to become a better version of you, so that way you can grow and ultimately become financially independent. Now, the second point that I have here, the second tip here, is to establish a primary source of income. And you are a part of the JEP group, and this in and of itself represents a source of income. But what is very important is that you try as best as possible, and I said it before, to own your craft, right? Meaning that at the end of the day, you try to show up for work and actually show up, right? Because at the end of the day, this is the first point for some, that may make sense for you to actually grow your income, right? You need a primary source of income. You need an income source that will help you to be able to make other alternative investments, so that way you can create other sources of income for you and yourself, right? So try to do a good job. That way it will really solidify yourself, and for your existing employees, and even for potential employers out there, always go out there and do your best in your capacity and ensure that you secure that primary source of income. Now, a lot of us don't like this one at all, right? And and if I'm completely honest with you as well, I don't like it, right? We set budgets, and to me, the point or the tip is bigger than setting a budget, right? It is very important for us to not just set a budget, but try as best as possible to stick to the budget. A lot of things will happen outside of the norm, and we'll have all of these things that happen that you didn't plan for. And whenever it is that we set the budget, we should always include a line for contingencies, that things that can happen. It's very difficult, especially now we know what's happening. Inflation is at 9.7% now, so we know, the cost of everything is going up now. But it's very important that as best as possible, you're looking at delayed gratification. You're looking at being disciplined because you are planning, right, to be financially independent, meaning that you can cover all of your expenses without being employed or getting it from somebody else, right? So it's important for us to set that budget, and not just set the budget, but stick to the budget as best as possible. Try as best as possible to allocate for investing, right? Because investing can become an alternate source of income for individuals, and especially women. Invest in your future. And a lot of these things that we're talking about right now is really to help you to invest in your future. Becoming intellectually inquisitive, right? So you're learning your own craft. You're going to school, to learn to become, let's say, for example, a better HR professional, a better engineer, a better, investment manager, whatever it is that you do, or an accountant, right? So at the end of the day, you are investing in yourself, right? Because you believe that, there's much, much more out there. And the truth of the matter is the world is your playground. So you have to make sure that at the end of the day, you're doing all of the things to make sure that you're putting plans in place for you to be able to benefit from that investment, right? You're setting your budget, right? And that in and of itself will also help you to put things aside, so that way, let's say, for example, you want to go out there and have a vacation. We're not saying that you must live frugally all your life, because the truth of the matter is that you have to enjoy some of that which you would have earned, right? But you have to set budgets, and you have to set caps in terms of how much it is that you're going to be spending on various expenses, right? So invest in your future, go out there, make the plan, and that is very important. Now, another thing that we want to make sure that we focus on is insuring. And a lot of us, we don't insure. We don't have health insurance, and we don't have life insurance. But one way of creating wealth for you and your family is through insurance, right? And that is creating generational wealth. Is really and truly, and yes, a lot of the time you're saying, boy, you're not going to benefit from it. You're just creating it now for you to pass it on to somebody else, or for people to fight over it. No, we need to look on it from the perspective that, if it is that you have health insurance, there are a lot of critical illnesses that are out there now. And, if you want to ensure that you have a good quality of life for you to enjoy, you need to ensure that you have health insurance. And for you to help, to create generational wealth, you need to also ensure that you have life insurance, right? So yes, some of it, you're paying for it now, and you may not necessarily see the benefit while you're alive. But there are people who it is that you do care about. There are family members, other friends and families who could also benefit from you having that insurance in place. Now, seeking proper guidance and advice from a financial advisor. And this one, I believe, is very important, right? A lot of the times, and you may Google, we use Google a lot to help us in terms of making decisions in our life, right? We use Google to help us to diagnose, if you're feeling a pain here and there, the first thing we do, we go to Google. But there's nothing better than having somebody a professional, somebody who can actually tell you exactly what it is that you should be doing. You can choose to listen or not, but it's also best for you to have a financial advisor where it is that you can explain to that person, right? What are some of your short-term, your medium-term, and your long-term goals? What are some of the challenges that you face in your life right now, right? What are some of the opportunities that you see out there for yourself, and some of those opportunities that you want to explore? So it's very important that you have that person. And typically you want this person to be licensed, right? So we can always put you onto somebody at Barita Investments Limited, and you're going to share with that person. A lot of the times, as Jamaicans, we don't like to share, but it's important in order for you to be able to achieve some of those personal and professional goals that you have for yourself, that you share your plan. So that way, we can guide you in terms of what are some of the best investment options for you to decide upon. Now, a lot of people say, stay away from debt, right? And when I say debt, I mean loans. Now, it's very important for us to use debt wisely. Um, it is very important that we focus on, whenever it is that we're going to be taking out a loan, it is not for everyday expenses, right? The truth of the matter is that, your own salary, as best as possible, should be used to cover your day-to-day expenses. Whenever it is that you take out a loan, you should be using that loan to create wealth, to create value for you. What does that mean? It means that whenever it is that you take out a loan, you should be taking out a loan to invest in an appreciating asset. And an appreciating asset is things like real estate, right? Or if it is that, you would have done your research and you'd have spoken to your financial advisor, and, there are certain stocks that's out there that you want to invest in, or, there's a business that, you believe strongly in, and you would have done the research, right? You would have been intellectually inquisitive and done the research, and, there are things out there that you want to invest in, right? This is where your financial advisor also comes into play, right? It's very important for you to use that debt and make sure that at the end of the day, whenever it is that you borrow that money, the rate of return is going to be higher than the cost of the debt, right? And that's why we say use debt wisely. A lot of rich people will tell you always use other people's money to grow your wealth, right? And that is something that is very important. We should not be using debt, let's say, for example, to be going out there, to be partying, buying carnival costumes, things like that. While it is that it gives you some amount of short-term pleasure, is it really helping you to create that financial independence that you want? Now, the next step and the next tip is taking a calculated risk and not being afraid to learn from your mistakes, right? And the truth of the matter is that not all of us will always get it right. Sometimes you may make an investment decision and it may not necessarily work out the way that you want it to. What we need to ensure that we get from these experiences is that, okay, what did we learn from it, and how is it that we will approach taking on that investment, or I would say that opportunity in a different way? What can we learn from it? What are some of the pitfalls, and utilize that to the best of our ability, right? At the end of the day, no risk, no return, and that is the truth, right? And we see it every day in our investment options that you have out there. So you have repos that are out there that are pretty safe, and you also have the equities market, right? And at the end of the day, you are taking that concerted effort to determine, am I going to be a shareholder in this company? And you're going to take on the risk. Now, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. But the truth of the matter is that if you look on, the rate of return that is generated from investing in equities versus, investing in a repo, you see where it is that sometimes it does make sense for you to take the risk. Talk to your financial advisors about it. Make sure that you do the research. Make sure that, at the end of the day, you are using that amount that you would have set in your budget to help you to go out there and make that investment. Now, we spoke about having a primary source of income before, right? And we said, keep an eye on your hobbies. And a lot of the time, we do things, and at the end of the day, there are potentially some earning opportunities there. So for example, we have some people who like to swim, right? And they really like being in the water. Maybe this is something that they can do. Maybe, this is something where it is that they can become a part-time coach. You have some people who love to take pictures, right? And we're in that digital age now, and we have social media. There are opportunities there. You have affiliate marketing from Amazon, and from several other companies that are out there, right? So a lot of us who, let's say, for example, we like to go on Amazon, and for example, we buy different gadgets and things of that nature. If it is that that this is something that you're going to do anyway, try to utilize that opportunity and earn from it. If you like to do short videos, or do a series of photographs, utilize all of these things to your advantage. So a lot of the time, we spend a lot of time on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, right? And there are opportunities there for us if it is that we take it seriously. Whatever your hobby is, try to see how best you can turn that into an earning opportunity. Now, moving on to being practice goal setting, right? Always have solid goals or a solid goal in place. Now, a lot of the time we do this at the beginning of the year, but it doesn't matter when you do it. What is important is that you stay disciplined, right? So let's say, for example, we aspire to own a home or two, or we aspire to own a car, or we're aspiring to go on a dream vacation, whatever it is that your goal is, whatever it is, because at the end of the day, what will make you happy, what will make other people happy, they're totally different, right? And we can always have several goals in place. Now, you have to make sure that you plan for it. You have to make sure that you actually write it down. I find that writing it down makes it real, versus keeping it in your head, right? Sometimes, we don't want to share too much with other people out there, but it's fine to share with a potential, with I would say, an investment advisor who can help you, and close friends and family who you believe that, you have a certain level of trust and respect for, so that way, just like how when you have a weight loss goal, right? When you tell people about it, people stop you from eating certain foods. They help you to watch the foods that you eat. They help you to exercise, or they go with you if you have an accountability partner. Same thing can apply here. So set the goal, and have a solid goal. Write down the goal. If you don't want to write it, when you put it in your phone, there are a lot of apps out there that you can use, but you just have to be deliberate about it, right? It's very important that we ensure that we focus on it. So at this time, guys, I want us to play a little game, right? All of you guys who go on TikTok a lot, I want us to play a little game. I don't know if some of you guys mind showing your face, because we're going to play this game. Put up a finger. All right, so we have 10 fingers, right? And at the end of the exercise, or at the end of this, I want you guys to put in the chat how many you got, right? So this one is put up a finger, and there are 10 things that I'm going to ask you. If you have at least 5 of them, or if you're doing at least 5 of them right now, that means you're on the path to financial independence, right? So put up your 10 fingers, just like how they do it on TikTok. My daughter introduced me to TikTok earlier this year, and oh my God, I spent 2 hours the first day that she introduced me to TikTok, just going through some of these videos, wasting my time. But I find that this is very good. And I want us to make sure that we use each and every opportunity to learn from it, and just to have a little bit of fun with it. All right, so guys, put up your 10 fingers, right? All right, so the first one is put up a finger if you continuously read and have a thirst for knowledge, and put into practice at least one thing that you would have learned in the last 3 months, right? So this comes back to the point of being intellectually inquisitive, always seeking to learn and to grow, right? Put up, or maybe I should be the other way. Put up a finger if you make every effort to do your job to the best of your ability. Janet, you have a question? Oh, okay.
No, sorry, I was just trying to put up my finger. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right. All right. So the second one is put up a finger if you make every effort in your job to do the best of your ability to secure your primary source of income, right? We spoke about it before, establishing that primary source of income so that you can use that money to create other sources of income, right? So when you have your primary income, you can potentially buy that camera that you need to buy. You can potentially shop on Amazon, and then you're able to review products, and potentially earn from those. All right. Put up a finger if you have a budget and you try as best as possible to stick to that budget on a monthly basis. Right? We know that things can go awry, but it's important that you have the budget and not just have the budget and stick to the budget. Put up a finger if you actively invest and you have an investment account with Barita Investments Limited, right? So you're investing for your future. Put up a finger if you have health insurance and life insurance. So just one finger if you have health insurance and life insurance. Put up a finger if you have a financial advisor, right? So you're seeking proper guidance to advise you to make the right investment decisions to help you to become financially independent. Put up a finger if you utilize loans to acquire assets and assets that are appreciating in value. So using it to buy real estate, using it to buy stocks, using it to buy a business, anything that at the end of the day, you are going to be seeing the benefit from that investment, right? It's going to be an asset if you look on your own financial statement. Put up a finger if you take risks, right? And you take risks and you learn from risks. Sometimes things don't work out the way that you want them to work. And at the end of the day, that is something that is very good and important, that that you learn from it. You don't beat up yourself about it, but you learn from those mistakes. Put up a finger if you have hobbies and try to turn those hobbies into additional sources of income. So I can't put up a finger. I am still on that journey trying to figure out, while it is that I do invest, I have not been able to figure out how I can use some of my hobbies. And I spoke about some of them here today, and I'm going to try my best, to make sure that I actually follow some of these things. Put up a finger if you have a written plan for yourself, your life goals, right? And this is where it is that we're practicing, goal setting and making sure that we have a solid plan in place in terms of all of our aspirations, the things that we want to ensure that we get out of life. So we finished now. We've gone through all 10 of them. And I want you guys to put in the chat how many you would have gotten. Good, Delano. Odette got 7. Very good, Odette. Okay. Rasheen got 8. Good. Good. Team JEP got 6. Janet got 7. Very good. So what this is showing us, guys, is that we're on the right path, right? And really and truly what we should be trying to do is to get 10 out of 10, right? So that means that we're doing all of the things. We're not perfect people, but we always just want to ensure that we're doing the things that will put us in a position to succeed and ultimately become financially independent. Remember that at the end of the day, we're saying that we want to be able to cover all of our expenses without being employed, right? Or dependent on anybody else, right? So that means that, we have to be able to have that alternate source of income that will help us to get this done. And ladies and gentlemen, that's it. Let us work on becoming financially independent. Any questions?
Someone is asking if Barita has portfolios just for women, just like JMB.
So, and that's a very good question, right? We don't right now, but that's something that we're yeah. So we don't right now, but
Sorry,
that's
Terry.
yeah, man, that's fine. We don't right now, but that's something that we're definitely working on. But what I would say to you, right, is irrespective of not whether or not we have something specific for women, we have financial advisors and we have products and services that can be tailored to anybody, right? So whether it is that you are a woman or a man or anything, any person, any gender, there are solutions out there with your own goals in mind and talking to a financial advisor, talking to a client service representative, they will help you to put those plans in place. Now, you can look at yourself on a monthly basis. When you put in that budget, you can say, boy, this month I can only do, or right now I can only do $10,000, and I'm just throwing out arbitrary numbers. Do it. Just start doing it. And that is something that is very important. So sometimes we don't need to wait on those products. Those products help, but there are other plans that can be put in place that are specific for you and your own financial path.
Good day. I have a question, and I'm asking on behalf of my wife. Well, she started a business last year during the pandemic. It's been doing fairly well, but I wanted to kind of get a feel of the nature of the business is it's a gift curation business. So I wanted to kind of get a feel of what could be done to kind of supplement that from a more business standpoint, as opposed to just the looking up of new items that we can prepare and that sort of thing.
Okay, so thank you for that question, Delano. So there's a lot. You said a gift curation business, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, right. So there's a lot that you can do, right? In that business. For example, you can try to find out. So instead of going out from a product perspective and trying to increase the number of products that you do offer, reach is very important in terms of how many people can you reach and trying to understand exactly what it is that customers want, right? So that those things are very important. Investing in data analytics, investing in trying to make sure that at the end of the day a lot of people know about that business and can patronize you, finding out what people like, what people don't like. Those things are also very important, because that way if it is that there's something that people tend to like more of, then you can make sure that you have more of that. If it is that you found that there are issues in terms of customer service and things of that nature, those things will also help to propel the business in and of itself. So I think it's very important. So outside of focusing on the products itself, focusing on data analytics, focusing on how many people that you can reach in terms of that business, in trying to understand what it is that they want and servicing them, those things are also important and can be incorporated into the business.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Any more questions? You don't have to feel pressured right now. If you
Give me
have
5 minutes. We're around here formulating the questions for you.
so just ask it, man.
All right, I have one until then gather their questions. I know it's something that you will determine with your financial advisor, your risk tolerance, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But sometimes, and I know everybody's different,
Mm-hmm.
but I always wonder, say for example, if your risk tolerance is not as high as the other person? Do you think that, it kind of restricts some of the wealth creation? And I know that they say that when you're younger, you're supposed to be riskier because you have time to acquire, or make back the money or acquire assets. So, what would you say about that? What would you say to somebody who probably, should be a little bit more riskier?
So the truth of the matter is that you have to understand and be comfortable with it, right? You have to be able to sleep at night. That is priority, right? Because at the end of the day, if you can't sleep at night, you can't function, you can't give up your best into your primary source of income, right? And you have to make sure that you're always focusing on ensuring that you have that primary source of income down. But what I would say, yes, the saying is right. You should really and truly focus on, especially when you're younger, to taking those risks. But the truth of the matter is that what you need to focus on is taking calculated risk, meaning that at the end of the day, if you don't understand an investment, it's very important for you to take the time to try to be inquisitive, right? To try to understand it as best as possible. So that way, the risk may not be as great. Sometimes the risk is great because you don't understand what it is that you're investing in. And what I think is very important is that we become a little bit more inquisitive and try to find out. Don't be ashamed to ask any question at all. That's why you have a financial advisor, right? That's why it is that you have a client services representative to help you to understand what is investing, what is it that you're investing in, what are some of the risks that are associated with it, and to alleviate some of your fears. What you can try to do is to create a balanced portfolio. So where it is that let's say, for example, you have $10 to invest, you determine that, okay, I can apportion some of that to some of the riskier assets out there. And, eventually once it is that you become more educated and more comfortable, then, as I said before, if you don't take any risk, you're not going to get the returns that you want. So you have to be able to be comfortable in and of yourself, educate yourself. And I think those things will make you a little bit more comfortable in terms of the investment decisions that you will be making. Moya, did I answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Moya Hines, are you ready?
All right. So the question was, if you have a portfolio with Barita and you've put your plans in place for a year, and say, for instance, the plans that you had, the goals that you had, for whatever reason, you need to change. So you wanted to buy a house, but a year has passed and now you want to buy a car. Is there room for flexibility with Barita? Because I know other financial institutions wouldn't allow, I'm not calling any names, wouldn't allow you to do that.
So remember, at the end of the day, it's your money, right? So it's your money, and it is very important that you understand that it's your money first of all. Things can happen. Let's say, for example, you would have indicated that for want of a better example, that you every month you want to be investing $10,000, but life happens, right? And we'll have to be real. Unexpected things happen from time to time, and things don't pan out, and you have to change, and you can only afford, let's say, for example, $5,000 to invest outside. Based on your budget, you can only afford $5,000 right now. It is for you to communicate, right? And that's why it's important for you to build that relationship and make sure that you have somebody, a financial advisor, client services representative, that you're comfortable with. That somebody that you can share, what is happening in your life. You may not want to share everything, but they understand, and maybe they can structure something that is different for you. But you have to remember that at the end of the day, it's your money, right? And as much as we want you to invest more, we can't bad you up and take away your money, right? Because it's your money. You're putting it to work for you, and we are there to facilitate you and help you to grow and create that wealth and become financially independent, right? So it's really about you communicating that circumstances would have changed, and therefore, right at this point in time, this is what I can afford to do right now. However, I have aspirations. I am going to create that second source of income or that third source of income to help me to get to where it is that I need to get to in the future. So yes, we can be very flexible.
Okay, thank you for that. If you're just starting out, what would you recommend for someone to, it would hurt. Let me think of my question. What's the best form of investment for someone just starting out? I know you have long-term investments versus savings, and I know you have IPOs, but for someone starting out, young, none of responsibilities, just to live life, what would you suggest for that person?
So again, everything that we do is tailored to meet that person's specific goals, right? The truth of the matter is that I don't have as much information as I would want to, but what I would say is I don't know the person's risk tolerance. So let's say, for example, the person, is willing to take a lot of risk, or let's do mid. They're a little bit conservative. They're willing to take some amount of risk. I would say that, that person could consider a balanced portfolio, right? And, you can come in and have, we'll have different products out there. We'll have our unit trust products, that can help you to get a mixture of pretty much everything, without you having to invest specifically in one, let's say, for example, one stock. I would always recommend that you read about companies and, you participate in the equities market, right? We would have seen situations earlier this year, would have seen Spurtree, where it is that they would have come to the market at $1, right? So you would have bought, and let's say you invested $100, and you went in when the IPO came out for $1, the price actually went to $2, right? So what that means is that if you would have invested $100, probably in less than a month, you would have been able to double that. That doesn't happen all the time, right? So we'll have to put those disclaimers out there. It doesn't happen all the time, but those are the opportunities that present themselves to you whenever it is that you choose to invest in the equities market, right? The important thing is to make sure that, you get the proper advice. Make sure you read about the company, make sure you understand the company. What I would say to that person is to look for companies that, you use on a regular basis. So, if you use a lot of spices, if you buy a lot of, let's say, for example, grease products, look at it from that perspective and potentially pick some of those stocks, read about some of those stocks, find out what is happening in, from a strategic perspective, what are some of the strategic imperatives that are being undertaken by those companies to enhance their overall performance, right? And you're going to use that to help you to make that investment decision. I think that is very important. For example, I can speak for myself, I like Apple. I mean, I love Apple products. Why not invest in Apple? Amazon. I am guilty of this. I like to buy things on Amazon, right? Why not invest in Amazon? They are doing a lot of things to make it easy for you to get your products in a timely manner. Before you had to go through about 5 clicks to get to your product. Right now, they have this 1 click or 2 click, you put it in your cart and then you can check out immediately. They're doing things that are really enhancing their overall performance. So therefore, you can look on things like that. You look for cleaning supplies, anything that you utilize, that can help you, and talk to your financial advisor. I can't stress that enough. About some of those investment decisions that you want to make on the equity side. And then you can, balance it with a little bit, of, there's some of the traditional products that are out there. Can put some in repos and, put some in the unit trust products that are out there. But I think it's very important for you to understand what you can sleep with at night, what makes you comfortable at night. If it is that, you're willing to take a little bit of risk, but there's also a potential of a downside and you can live with that. That is what is going to be important in terms of what it is that you need to do and the investment decisions that you need to make for your overall, financial success.
All right, thank you.
All right. Of course, I want you to tell us about the cross listing with Massey and Barita. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Sure. All right. So Massey Holdings Limited would have cross-listed on the Jamaica Stock Exchange in January 27, 2022. So upcoming on this Friday, they're going to be doing a stock split, right? So Massey is a growing company. Massey is a company with over 13,000 employees operating in over 15 territories through 60 companies. It's a company that is conscious, right? So that means that they care about, their people. They care about, everybody, their stakeholders out there, right? And it's a company that has aspirations. It's a regional company right now, but they have aspirations to become a global company. Massey is led by a team of individuals who are unafraid to make the changes that are required for them to be able to, consistently create value for their shareholders, right? And it's a company that has been around for almost a century. They were incorporated in 1923. And since then, they would have gone through, a significant amount of transformational changes, and they're still here. They're still a growing company and they're still relevant. So from that perspective, there's a lot of information on the JC about Massey, and there's a lot of information on the Massey website about Massey. So Massey, they operate in integrated retail gas products, and they also operate in motors and machines, right? And they also have, other lines of businesses where it is that they have their financial services. So it's a company that, they don't consider themselves a conglomerate. They consider themselves an investment holding company. That means that at the end of the day, they're very deliberate and they're very strategic in terms of how it is that they approach their own business. So it's an option. They cross-listed in Jamaica, and this is a part of what it is that we try to do at Barita. We create some amount of regional integration, right? For a long time, the Jamaica Stock Exchange, I have been talking about, creating, probably, a one stock exchange, right? A Caribbean stock exchange and things of that nature. So what we're doing and, what we're facilitating, our companies who want to cross list on the Jamaica Stock Exchange and, make this investment option easier than you having to go to a Trinidad stock brokerage company for you to get some of the Massey shares that are out there. So that is pretty much it about Massey. It is something that we believe in, and that's why it is that we would have gone ahead and put in the steps to make sure that the cross list, and two, make sure that it is something that the average man can feel comfortable investing in, right? So when Massey cross listed, they were priced out for one stock. The price of that stock was $2,400, right? With the stock split, what is happening is that you have the same amount of value, so it is going to be divided up into 20, right? So that way they're making it a lot easier for the ordinary Jamaican who can afford it or feel as if they can afford it. Either way, if you had $2,000 to invest, you're still going to invest the $2,000. But to make it a little bit easier on the eyes in terms of investors who might say, wow, $2,400 is a lot of money to pay for one single stock. And with the stock split, we're going to make it, more affordable. It's going to be, the pricing is going to be in line with, let's say, for example, like a NCB, and a Grace Kennedy. So, people can go out there and, acquire those stocks. So we have, some, research papers that we can actually share that our research team would have done on Massey. And it gives you the fundamentals. So remember that, we spoke about being intellectually curious and, inquisitive, right? So we can share that information with you. and you can do your own assessment. We can put you onto an investment advisor, or client services representative who can also walk you through the process, to understand what are your financial circumstances right now and what are your goals, what it is that you want to achieve, and put you on a path, or as best as possible, put you on a path so that way you can achieve some of those goals that you would have set out.
Okay, thank you so much.
All right.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I have one, Maya. Terise, sorry.
I'm good.
Great. If you look at the same Massey, right now they're trading in Trinidad 106, which is equivalent to about 2,000, a little bit over 2,000, right? And we are somewhere in 1950. With a 10-way split, would you encourage our guys to look at Massey as a good put?
So yes. So what is going to be done is a 20-to-1 stock split, right? And even without the split, there's significant value there in Massey, right? We spoke about it in terms of, Massey, and we're just talking about the fundamentals of Massey, right? So Massey is a regional company. They have aspirations to becoming a global enterprise, right? When you look on the financials and the fundamentals of Massey, they're ripe with opportunity, meaning that at the end of the day, they're looking for opportunities to invest. They have as much cash as some companies that are the market cap of some companies that are listed on the Jamaica Stock Exchange, right? So they're looking for those opportunities that will make a lot of sense for them. Now, what I would suggest, right, is that for your team or anybody else who is interested in, look on the trajectory. Massey would have cross listed at 2.4. It would have come down because a lot of people are anticipating the split. And a lot of people are actually trying to get as many shares as possible. We always recommend always speak to your financial advisor to buy on the dip. When I say buy on the dip, look to see where it is that the price would have moved down somewhat, and create your own strike price, right? So let's say if you're comfortable buying at 2,000, whatever it is, we believe that it makes sense for you to put in your orders as best as possible, as early as possible, so that way you can actually get some of the Massey shares. So it's definitely recommended by us at Barita, and what I can do, I can share the research report with you about Massey.
I have one more question. You mentioned trajectory a while ago. And Cecil and I were having a discussion this morning with a particular, I don't know exactly if, I don't want to put you in an uncomfortable situation, but since everybody's on the phone, I'm just looking at something. So looking at trajectory for this company, who when listed was about 80 cents and they're now above $7. And the upward slope was literally peaked during this Russian thing, right? But they're not part of the supply chain. They are really in the distribution side of the chain. For a stock like that, I mean, the conclusion I came to is hold a little bit and then sell, because it has to go down, because it's collecting margin on the product and not getting it from the base. What are your opinion on something like that?
So my opinion is that I don't understand, or I don't know the fundamentals of the company. So I wouldn't be in a position to give any advice in terms of whether to buy or sell that stock at this point in time without looking on the fundamentals of that company.
Thank you, Terise.
Amen.
All right. Any more questions? All right. Thank you so much, Terise. We really appreciate you joining us.
Yeah, man, and thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, I'm sure it was a wealth of information. I'm an active investor, but I learned a lot. So I really appreciate it.
Okay. All right. Thank you. And thank everybody, and happy Women's Day to all the ladies on the call. And I hope you got something from it. As I said, a lot of these things you already know. It's just for you to be deliberate and disciplined and, actually just put some of them into action. Try at least one or two that you weren't doing before, to get you on that path to financial independence.
Thank you much, Terise. I really appreciate it.
All right. Thank you, guys.
All right. Bye. Take care, everyone.
All right.